Picture this. A retired couple is sitting at the kitchen table. Right between them is a pension statement and two Social Security letters. They're just staring at the paperwork, realizing that their combined fixed income now has to somehow stretch across two separate households instead of one. This explainer covers exactly how Washington, D.C. divides pensions, Social Security, and retirement accounts when both spouses have already stopped working. We're going to look at exactly what a retiree needs to know before the paperwork even starts. Here is a stark reality check. Splitting one retired household into two typically raises your combined living expenses by roughly 40%. And that happens even though your total household income stays exactly the same. The math is completely uncompromising here. Essentially, one household's expenses suddenly become 1.4 households' expenses. So it leads to the most common and honestly the most urgent question I get asked behind closed doors. Can I actually afford to divorce when we're both living on fixed retirement income? Now, I know you are likely anxious about the money running out. It's a completely valid concern, and it is one that requires a very precise look at the actual numbers. Let's take a look at a typical DC couple. Combined, they bring in $5,500 a month. When they're married, their shared expenses sit around $4,200. That leaves a comfortable $1,300 surplus. But after divorce, the need for separate housing, separate utilities, and individual health care pushes combined expenses up to somewhere between $6,100 and $8,700. A comfortable surplus turns into a severe deficit. The full article breaks down the exact monthly budget difference before and after divorce, and if you want to see those numbers side by side, it's linked in the first comment below. Okay, let's dive into this. How does DC divide our pension and retirement income if we've both already stopped working? The mechanics here are entirely different from dividing assets while you are still employed. Under DC Code 16910, courts apply what is called equitable distribution. That means assets are divided fairly, though not always exactly 50-50. But here's the critical part when both spouses are already retired. The court must divide ongoing income streams immediately. They're not dividing future benefits that are years away. Judges must address the immediate reality of splitting money that you are using to live on right now. Which brings us to a strategic pivot. Can I collect Social Security from my ex-spouse's record after we're both retired? This is actually one of the few retirement benefits that can be claimed entirely independently. If you are married for 10 years or longer, you have specific federal protections. You can claim Social Security on an ex-spouse's record. This claim can be worth up to 50% of that ex-spouse's full retirement age amount. That gives you an essential pillar of independent income. But here is a critical fact to remember. Your claim does not reduce your ex-spouse's payment, not by a single penny. Both of you can collect simultaneously without any negative financial impact to either party. Moving down the administrative checklist, we hit another very frequent question. If I'm already taking money out of my 401k, do I still need a QDRO to divide it? The short answer is absolutely yes. And this brilliantly illustrates the complexity of the paperwork involved. Dividing a private pension or 401k that is already in distribution requires a qualified domestic relations order, commonly known as a QDRO. Federal pensions, however, require a specialized court order acceptable for processing, or COAP. These are entirely different legal documents. Let me be very clear about the timeline here. A COAP filed with the Office of Personnel Management takes 90 to 120 days to approve. Every single step of this process takes time. You must plan for these delays when mapping out your post-divorce finances. Healthcare is a massive source of anxiety for retirees. I hear it constantly. Will I lose my Medicare or health coverage once the divorce is final? Well, let's clarify exactly what stays and what goes. Your individual Medicare coverage is completely unaffected by divorce. Since it's based solely on your own work history or age, that remains perfectly safe. However, access to a former spouse's employer-provided retiree health plan typically ends. Maintaining similar health coverage through COBRA continuation can cost up to 102% of the full premium. This often means paying between $600 and $1,200 monthly, right out of your own pocket. It is a substantial new expense that must be accounted for in your new single household budget. Knowing all of this, setting realistic expectations is crucial. How long does a divorce like this actually take in DC when the assets are this complicated? Most post-retirement divorces in DC take 9 to 18 months to finalize. Negotiating complex retirement asset divisions and securing those OPM approvals extends the standard separation timeline. It is rarely a quick process. And once the divorce is finally granted, your work isn't quite over. Divorce does not automatically remove an ex-spouse from beneficiary designations, wills, or powers of attorney in D.C. If you fail to act, your ex-spouse could literally inherit your retirement accounts regardless of what your divorce decree actually says. These critical estate documents must be updated within 60 days of the divorce being finalized. This is a hard deadline to protect your intended heirs. Do not delay these updates. So, the crucial point we need to take away is this. Dividing a retirement that's already underway is not the same as dividing future benefits. Getting the order of operations wrong on a QDRO or a COP can delay a settlement by months. It requires specialized precision. Are you prepared for the 6 financial adjustments you must make before filing? You really need to know exactly where you stand. I invite you to check the full article in the first comment for the 6 financial adjustments retirees should consider before starting this process. And if you want DC family law guidance for retirees without having to search for it every time, hit subscribe. Let's make sure you have the facts.